You are constantly creating your reality. So why not get into a practice of creating what you want instead of creating what you don't want? Today, I'm going to be talking about the teachings of Neville Goddard. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar, Neville is a philosopher, a spiritual teacher who taught that we can create our own reality. And he had a number of different parts of his doctrine, but fundamental to his belief was that beliefs, thoughts, words, and feelings are creative. That we create into our reality the mental images that we hold, and that you can shape your reality through the power of imagination. He also talked about acting as if the wish were fulfilled. In other words, the thing that you wanted was already right here, right now. He called it the law of assumption. And I'm going to be breaking those concepts down for you as part of a new series I'm considering about doing here around great teachers and helping you understand their work. So if that's something you'd be interested in moving forward, definitely comment and let me know. But recently, a member of our community commented on one of my videos. He said, hey, this is a video about how to grow your business and you're giving tips about how to create $1 million coaching business, but I don't have a business. And so how do I create abundance? Because if I don't have a business, I'm stuck. And that's actually not true. And I'm going to explain how no matter where you are in your life right now, whether you're an entrepreneur or business owner, whether you've got a career, whether you don't have a career and you're unemployed, whether you're homeless right now, how any circumstance can change, but you have to understand the rules of the game. And Neville Goddard did a great job in the mid-1900s of explaining to us these rules. So I'm going to break it down for you. Number one, Neville talked about how we create our reality through our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, and it is true that we create our own reality. Thoughts really do become things. And just as fish were born to swim and birds were born to fly, human beings were born to create something from nothing. You are an incredible creative technology. And so I want to explain to you the two ways that you create your own reality. Now, I've talked about this in other episodes where I've gone deep on these concepts, but today we're going to weave them all together in honor of Neville Goddard. You create your own reality in a very practical way. That practical way is explained by behavioral psychology. And it's really simple. Behavioral psychology basically says whatever it is that you believe, you think in alignment with those beliefs on a moment-by-moment basis. If you believe that you can't trust anybody, you're going to have thoughts of distrust as you're interacting with other human beings. If you believe that your soulmate is not out there, you will have thoughts like all the good ones are taken and there are no good ones left. If you believe that money is hard to make, then you're going to have thoughts that are not in alignment with making money easily. What you believe, you think. Now, what you think, you feel. This is just a fundamental understanding of how the human being operating system works. Every time you have a thought, there's an electrical activation in your brain, and then that electrical energy is translated into your nervous system, and you experience that electrical energy as a feeling or an emotion. And the quality of the feeling you experience is always in direct alignment with the thought that you're having. So if you're thinking that there's not enough time to get it all done, and if you don't get it all done, you're going to fail, that will directly correlate to feelings of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. That thought in your brain translates through your nervous system as an emotion, and you feel it. If you have thoughts of anticipation that things are going to work out for you, and you're really going to be successful at whatever it is you're endeavoring to achieve, you'll have feelings or emotions of excitement. If you have a thought that you're never going to overcome your chronic health condition, you'll have emotions that we would describe as hopelessness or depression. Those feelings or emotions determine on a moment-by-moment basis what you do. Let me repeat that. Those feelings and emotions you have, the feelings and emotions that you feel on a day-to-day basis determine what you do or do not do. So if you're feeling hopeless, you're going to take action that a hopeless person would take. You're not going to be consistently focused on achieving something extraordinary in your life if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious or jealous, or angry. And conversely, if you're feeling calm or peaceful or excited or enthusiastic, or you're feeling present, then you're going to be taking actions that are constructive in your life. And your actions, when you stack those up on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, determine the results. Whether you lost the weight or not, whether you made more money or not, whether you grew your business or not, whether you got healthier or not, whether you got clearer about your purpose in life or not. And then That result, when you observe it, man, I didn't get as much done today as I wanted to. Man, look how full my bank account is. Man, look how sick my body feels. Man, look how amazing my relationship is, will always reinforce the belief that started it. And we make the mistake of thinking that the experiences or the results of our life are what are determining how we feel and what we think. But what's actually true is what you think and how you feel is 100% consistently and predictably determining the results of your life. What you think becomes your reality. Now, what does this have to do with imagination? Well, you're always imagining. You are always imagining. So when you're driving from point A to point B, still upset about something that happened at work, still arguing with someone who maybe you had an argument with, maybe you didn't have an argument with, but it's taking place in your head, during that car ride home, you're actively imagining. You're imagining arguing. When you're afraid of not having enough money at the end of the month to pay your rent, during that period of time that you're entertaining that idea or thinking those thoughts and feeling those emotions, you're imagining. Human beings are imaginers. You're imagining most of the day. I have conversations with some people who say, but gee, I heard it's really important to imagine what I want my future to look like, but I have such a hard time imagining. No, you don't. You imagine at the level of the best of them. You are a phenomenal imaginer. What you need to become aware of is that a good portion of your time, you're imagining a future you don't want, and those are the results that you're getting, rather than imagining a future that you do want. Because here's what's happening. As you imagine, as you're activating the neural networks of your brain, you're thinking about a future that hasn't happened yet. You're focused on what you want and what you desire. You're impressing those ideas onto the field of consciousness. Neville Goddard talked about a thing called the fourth dimension. I've done other episodes on this. He said, hey, there are two dimensions that exist simultaneously, two realities. One reality is the reality that we sense with our five senses. You can see it, you can taste it, you can touch it, you can hear it, you can feel it. It's a material reality. It's the reality that has manifested or materialized into our life. He said, but there's another dimension, there's another reality, and it's a dimension that's not material, it's energetic, it's imaginative. Think of it as almost like one of those wax seals that they used to use on letters that the king would stamp his insignia on. There's a field of imagination, and it's fresh for your stamping. And you can stamp onto it whatever you want. And whatever you stamp onto that field, whatever you imagine, whatever you're putting your mental energy towards, will go from imagination, the fourth dimension, and find its way into the third dimension. Through thoughts and ideas that you have and thoughts and ideas that other people have that create coincidences and synchronicities and rendezvous that materialize that reality. You're worried about getting laid off, and then all of a sudden the CEO of your company says, look, times are tough and we've run out of venture financing and we're going to have to lay 50% of the team off, and you happen to be part of that 50% of the team. But you've been worried about it, you've been imagining it. Or maybe you haven't been imagining that, but you've been imagining not having enough. You've been imagining financial insecurity. You've been afraid that you're going to run out. And so this is a way for the universe to go, you know what? You're right. Look, you just lost your job. So it's very important to understand that whatever you're imagining, you are activating in the fourth dimension. One of the things Neville says is that all of creation already exists. Every idea that's ever been thought or that ever will thought exists in the field of consciousness. It exists in the fourth dimension. Everything you might ever desire, a certain amount of money, a transformed body, a new relationship, a healed relationship with your current partner, clarity, confidence, anything that could ever possibly exist in your reality exists already in the fourth dimension. And by you putting your thought energy towards it, you activate that particular frequency within the fourth dimension, and that frequency is alive. Ideas are alive, and they start to find their way from the fourth dimension into the third dimension, into your reality. And this happens at an individual level, and it also happens at a collective level. Say you imagine a better job, a job where you're doing something that you're more passionate about doing, a job where you're making more money, a job where the conditions are more what you might prefer. Say you're working from home, a job where you're working with people who you enjoy working with. If that's where you're focusing your imagination, in other words, on your car ride from work to home, that's what you're thinking about, excited about the possibility of that unfolding for you, knowing that if you're holding it in your imagination, it will materialize into your life, feeling enthusiastic about the fact that it may happen soon through a series of coincidences and synchronicities that will occur. You might be contacted by a recruiter who says, hey, we've got another job opportunity for you. You might see an ad that comes through your social media feed. You click on it, you apply, and you get a new position. A friend of yours might say, hey, I'm starting a new business, and I'm needing someone with exactly your skill sets. Or through coincidence and synchronicity, you may actually get laid off, but then that new job opportunity is waiting right there for you. So in the same way that we're creating undesired results in our life, that's how we also create all of the things that we want. Everything that you've ever created in your life right now, at one point in time, you held in your imagination, whether it's something that you cherish or whether it's something you no longer want. So realize as well that your problems, when they show up, are just there to focus your energy on what you want. What I mean by that is the way you get clear on what it is that you do want in your life is by experiencing situations or circumstances or people that you don't enjoy. But what tends to happen, because this is the way the human mind operates, is that we focus on the problem. We focus on what we don't want. Those circumstances and situations that show up that you don't prefer are meant to divert your focus and attention towards the opposite. You experience a situation in your life, again, while you're experiencing financial insecurity, that motivates a desire for financial prosperity. You experience some sort of health condition or chronic health problem, and that motivates a desire to have, extraordinary wellness in your body, strength, flexibility. You experience being alone for a long time or being in relationships where you feel like you've been betrayed. That motivates a desire to be in a soulmate relationship where you're with somebody who respects you, who you can trust. And so the important thing here is to develop a practice of directing your thought intentionally, of directing your imagination towards what you desire. And in order to do that, we have to weed the garden of our mind. I talk about this in a lot of other episodes. We have built a habit of thought, a habit of belief, a habit of emotion, and therefore a habit of action and personality based on things that occurred for us when we were very, very young. And so as you get into this work, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, we have to start weeding the garden of our mind. We have to start pulling out the old limiting beliefs, the unprocessed and unmetabolized trauma. And so when we do that, when you learn how to transform your belief systems, what you also do is you're starting to detoxify yourself of fear. Because think about it, all of your limiting beliefs move you into fear. All of those traumas that you've not worked through activate the sympathetic nervous system. They upregulate your nervous system and they move you into fight or flight. And so the most important thing that you could focus on is this thing called personal growth, because as you get into personal growth, as you transform your belief systems, as you heal your childhood traumas, you start to retrain your nervous system and you downregulate it. And that downregulation, when you're no longer just automatically operating for fear that something's going to go wrong, allows you to intentionally direct your thoughts and direct your imagination towards what you want, rather than the old habit, the obsession, the addiction on focusing on what you're afraid of. Because when you focus on what you don't want, you move into fight or flight. And when you are focusing on what you do want, you move your nervous system into rest and relaxation and parasympathetic. And you may say, but hey, what I want, Dave, isn't here. You might be like our friend who commented on one of our videos and said, hey, I want to make more money, but I don't have a business, so there's no way for me to make more money. And that's where we insert resistance into the equation. Our friend is trying to move into figuring out the how way too early. Because as Neville teaches, everything that you ever want, even though you may not know the how, already exists in the fourth dimension. It exists in energetic form in the field. So relax. Have the desire for what you want without needing to know the how. And relax into its unfolding as you miraculously watch it transform from the fourth dimension to the third dimension. Hey, it's David. Quick announcement before we get back to your episode. Our annual event, the Powerful Living Experience, is coming up. There's a link in the show notes, or you can visit powerfullivingexperience.com. Check out the video of last year's event. We're going to be bringing together 1,000 impact-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and game changers to spend 3 days doing what matters most. Going really, really deep on identifying the limiting beliefs and subconscious programs that are still preventing you from your full potential, and going through deep experientials and trainings and transforming them. We're also going to be getting into concepts like wealth creation, purpose, greatness, money, relationships, health. And if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to be spending about 20% of that event opening up my business playbook, the same strategies and tactics and techniques that we use to go from $0 to $30 million in an impact-driven business, while spending 90% of my time doing what I love. There's nothing like the Powerful Living Experience. Inc. named it a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs and leaders, and I want to see you there. We've got some discounted tickets right now, plus some additional bonuses. Again, all the information is in the link in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com, get registered, and I will plan on seeing you there along with 1,000 other impact-driven, incredible members of our community for 3 days that you will never forget. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode. There was a study done at Harvard. I've talked about this on several different episodes, done in 2009. It was featured in Time magazine, where they brought in piano players to play the piano. And as they were playing the piano, researchers studied what parts of their brains lit up. Then the piano players came back in and just imagined playing the piano, and the same parts of their brain lit up. In fact, 80% of the neural activity was achieved just through imagination. And so your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination or reality. But if you're willing to imagine what it would be like to have more money, even though you don't have a business, even though you may not have a job, even though you may be down and out on your luck and not even have a home, if you're willing to entertain the idea of prosperity, of abundance, and to hold in your mind's eye what your life would look like with this financial prosperity and abundance, you experience a future that hasn't happened yet. Your brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. So it's as if you are actually, and this is what Neville Goddard talks about, right? Act as if the wish fulfilled. This is where you start to build new neural networks or memories in your brain of a future that hasn't happened yet. And what's so amazing is that if that future had happened, right? If you had healed your body, if you had found the soulmate, if you had grown your business, if you had made the money, wouldn't you know how you made it? Wouldn't you know how it occurred for you? Wouldn't you be able to look backwards and go, well, these are the steps that I took and this is how it occurred? When you give yourself permission to imagine the outcomes of your life that you desire without needing to know the how, you activate that energy in the 4th dimension, and then the how finds its way to you. The thoughts, the ideas, the inspiration, the intuition, the coincidences, the synchronicities, the rendezvous, they naturally occur. C.S. Lewis, who wrote the book The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, who then later found Christianity and became a devout Christian, describes God as the great way maker. And whether you believe in a God like the big bearded guy in the sky, or it's Jesus or Allah or the universe or the quantum field for you, just understand that whenever you place your order, immediately all of creation starts to respond, both through thoughts and ideas that become now available to you and external coincidences and synchronicities that line up circumstances and situations to make what it is you imagine and what it is you desire a reality, right? So the important thing, again, is to focus on those things that feel good to you, or don't even focus on it, but just know that it's coming your way. Neville called this the law of assumption. Assume it is already done. It's just in the process of materializing. So this has been something that I've been actively applying to everything that I'm doing in my business right now and everything that I'm doing in my life. I've shared on other episodes, I have very big aspirations. We've built an incredibly successful transformational coaching company. And I believe that we're going to grow this coaching company to $100 million. We're launching a second company called Whole Human, which I believe is going to be a $1 billion transformational company. And we have a number of other projects in the works, including my aspirations to run for and become president in 2032. These are desires I have. I spend a lot of time imagining these things. I don't worry about the how because I know the how will show up in the day-to-day experiences of my life. And if it is my higher power's will, then all of these things must occur. And if it is not my higher power's will, meaning if it's not what God or the universe wants for me, then I don't want it. Then I got the wrong idea, because I want what life has in store for me, because you know what? Life is never wrong. So Neville talks about this idea of act as if it is fulfilled, right? Neville talks about to do this before bed. It's because your brain gets into a certain wave state that allows the subconscious mind to be more influenced just as you're dozing off to sleep. Now, I actually found for me, it's best early in the morning while I'm still sleepy. Now, either one works, but what you want to do is when the subconscious mind is still available, you want to get into a practice of imagination. Now, here's my process, the way that I'm able to feel as if it is already done. I talked about this in my secret journaling process in another episode. But it is a process of waking up in the morning, going down into a room that I have dedicated in my home where I write. And every morning I write a love letter to God. I write a love letter to my higher power, thanking my higher power for all the incredible things that I have in my life. Some days I'm writing about the same things. I mean, every single day I thank God for my wife and the extraordinary synchronicities that led me to meet her. I thank God for my son. I thank God for this business. I thank God for this podcast. I thank God for you. I thank God for healing my mind. I thank God for my recovery. And I've gotten to the point where I've done so much personal development work that I'm no longer really focused on trying to pull the weeds of my garden. I think you get to a point in personal growth where you've transformed enough of your limiting beliefs and there's still some remaining, but finally your head kind of pokes up out of the garden and you see the sky. And so what I've really been focused on recently is not so much trying to transform my limiting beliefs, but trying to deepen my relationship, a personal relationship with my higher power. I've been asking for years for a personal relationship with God. I just did an episode on this a couple of episodes ago. You can check it out where I share my process. But every single morning I wake up and I write my gratitude for all the beautiful things in my life to that which has given me those things, which for me is my higher power, is God. And the next thing I do is I ask for things. I ask for continued healing. I ask for continued courage. I ask for continued guidance. I ask to know God's will. I ask for a private jet. I ask for 1 million books sold. I ask for $1 billion company so that I can do more of God's will for me in the world. I ask for all kinds of things, just like my 2-year-old son asks for everything from his baba. And when I ask for these things, because I know that I'm asking the creator of the universe, I feel as though these things are already done. I almost feel like I should record a session of me doing my writing, because you'd see a huge ass smile across my face. And then the third part of my practice, this is my practice for feeling as though the wishes I have are already fulfilled. I acknowledge those that have been fulfilled in my life through gratitude. I ask for those things that I want, knowing that if they are God's will, they will be fulfilled for me, and I don't need to figure out how. I need to take action when I'm inspired, and I need to meet the situations and circumstances that He orchestrates in my life. I'm not just going to sit at home on my sofa eating a bag of cheesy poofs watching Netflix, expecting the Amazon delivery person to deliver $1 billion company in the presidency of the United States. I got to do the work. And the third thing is I pray for other people. I pray in the name of my belief and my personal relationship with my higher power for others. And this is why I've been talking a lot recently that I believe a personal relationship with God is really, really important. So this is my process. And then as life unfolds, and Neville talks about this, don't be dismayed when something shows up and isn't what you expected, right? There's an iterative process to the answer that we get when we ask for things. It's not uncommon for life to go, hey, here's this thing you wanted, but it's still got a bunch of stuff inside of it that you don't want. Hey, here's this employee that seems like they're going to be really, really great, but they have too much ego and they're not aligned with your culture. And you're like, man, it was so close. Hey, here's this business opportunity that's really in alignment with everything that you've been imagining, but it turns out it's not with the right people. And so this is where the system or God or the universe tests your faith. But it's also an iterative process. As you stay the course through this and you don't give up hope, and you don't go back to imagining futures you don't want, and you don't lose faith, the system calibrates. And so knowing that when things show up that are kind of like what I wanted them to be, but aren't, I'm rarely let down anymore. This is very new for me. I used to be like, damn, like this law of attraction thing doesn't work. Or come on, how many times do I have to get excited about something being the thing that I wanted and it turns out not to be? You know what I mean? I used to experience a lot of this when I was, looking for my partner, when I was dating, right before I met my wife, Carol. But what I realized is this is a natural part of the process. And I had actually been slowing down this organic process by losing faith and falling back into my old limiting beliefs or going back into imagining a life without the stuff that I wanted. So it's important for you to understand that it's a process, and what you've been imagining may show up as a version, but it's not complete in its conception. Does that make sense? It's in the process. It's a reiterative process. And so this is a practice. And as you practice what I'm sharing with you in this episode, you start to entrain your nervous system. You start to build it into your nervous system. If you want to get really, really good at basketball, you got to build a nervous system for basketball. You want to get really good at playing the piano, you got to build a nervous system for playing the piano. Well, how do you do those things? You practice basketball and you practice piano. And this is like anything else, and that's very good news. This is a skill that you can develop to be able to use your mind intentionally to create your reality, to be able to direct your thoughts and your focus towards imagining what you want versus imagining a future that you're afraid of. And in the beginning, most of us all start out at the same place. We're spending 99% of our time without being vigilant about where we're focusing our attention. And when you catch yourself, you're like, shit, man, I'm thinking about the same negative thing again. So what do? Well, you have to understand the rules of the game, like we're talking about here through the philosophies of Neville Goddard in this instance. You have to have some daily practices, stop when you notice that you're thinking about something that you don't want and direct your attention somewhere else. Move your body, change your physiology, work a decision matrix. I provide a ton of tools on all of our episodes to help you do that. And just like you would at the gym, get into a daily practice of building a relationship with your higher power. Because as you practice, you start to entrain or train your nervous system as someone who's creating their own reality. Having a nervous system where you can intentionally create your own reality is a skill that you can develop. And it is available to everybody, no matter how much childhood trauma you had, no matter how much abuse you suffered, no matter how long the problems have been going on, no matter how bad your money mindset is. Trust me, we've worked with thousands and thousands of people. I've seen the worst of them, and I was pretty bad myself. You can learn this skill. So that's Neville's process, and it very much maps to the process of Abraham Hicks. For those of you who know Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, and I'll do another deep dive on Abraham's philosophy, but what Abraham basically says is you go through the experiences of your life and you experience things that you don't like, but that's okay. They call it contrast, but the contrast inspires clarity around what you do want. So the contrast catalyzes focus around your desire. Step one is you experience problems, and your automatic reaction to those problems is a desire for the opposite. Step two, they say, is the universe or the field starts to organize all the cooperative components. It starts to send you thoughts and ideas. It starts to activate other people and coincidences and synchronicities and rendezvous in order to materialize or bring into your third dimensional reality that which you desire. Step three is be non-resistant. Right? And Neville talks about this in terms of assuming the wish fulfilled. When you don't assume that what you've asked for is on its way, you have doubts and fears. That's the resistance. And because your beliefs create your own reality, if you doubt something occurring, it will slow the process or prevent the thing that you want from occurring. So in Abraham's step three is chill out. Step four is along the way, you're going to experience more contrast, meaning it's not going to materialize exactly the way you expected it to right away. And step five is you get so comfortable with the fact that this is an iterative process that when problems show up in your life, you realize they aren't problems at all because a solution is right behind it. And that's where I talk about being in a daily practice and in training your nervous system so that you become an evolved, supreme human being and a master creator. So again, I want to close the loop on our friend who wanted more money but didn't have a business. No problem. Just imagine what it would be like to be living an abundant and prosperous life. And from the field, the way will be made. That may be thoughts and ideas to create your own business and a path that unfolds to do it, or it may be other ways that you can't imagine based on your limited perspective to create wealth and abundance for you. But the point is, you don't need to know the how, just have the desire and live in non-resistance. In fact, as Neville encourages, live as if the wish is already fulfilled. So this is the work to do, not to need to know how, not to hustle, not to grind, not to get dismayed, not to have enough time or money. All of those things are just illusions of limitation. The field can deliver, or God can deliver, or the universe can deliver, whatever it is that you desire when you align yourself with the rules of the game. So I hope you loved this episode. If you did, do me a couple of favors. Number one, share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Number two, comment, ask questions. If you're listening on YouTube, I see all of them. I try to respond to as many as I can. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon. And if you're listening on your favorite audio platform and you haven't yet, do me a favor, subscribe, tell somebody about the show, leave me a rating. I love those, waking up in the morning and seeing a new rating or review on Spotify or Apple. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. I'm going to keep doing everything I can in order to help us go together and grow together. And I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.